bring in Kerri Kupec Urbahn. Kerri, you've been following this. You've been in the courtroom many days. What surprised me was that David Pecker talked about killing other stories and announced that certain people, celebrities, had affairs. Also, that he said Stormy Daniels Trump told him that every time Stormy Daniels uses Trump's name, that's $1 million penalty.
Yeah, and apparently David Pecker was giving Donald Trump a heads up about bad stories since 1998, which is long before Donald Trump announced his intent to run for president. But yeah, Ainsley, I mean, it was really interesting. We learned a lot about other celebrities who have done the same thing. Tiger Woods, Rahm Emanuel, former President Obama's chief of staff, Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's a pretty common practice.
But Kerri, the prosecution didn't lie yesterday, but it was the lie of omission, meaning when they did cross of Pecker, they didn't bring any of this up. It was the defense that poked holes in it. So how does that play on a jury when it seems like they painted a picture that this was Donald Trump, this is out of the ordinary, this does not happen, and then you have the defense come right behind them and show that it was actually quite frequent that this happened?
Well, I think the entire case is misleading. It's still unclear what this underlying crime is that Donald Trump was supposedly trying to conceal. We've talked about this all week. It feels like they're looking for it as they go. And so, again, if they're honing in on this New York state law, which says that it is a crime, a misdemeanor, by the way, to promote or a candidate for office by unlawful means or conspiracy to influence an election by unlawful means. Well, one, conspiracy to influence an election is called running for office. And two, what are those unlawful means? And they still have not identified what that is.
They want to say that they were successful yesterday, Politico writes, in tying Donald Trump's need to suppress these stories with the 2016 campaign. Do you agree with that?
I don't still see what the crime is. We are in a court of law. It is not a crime to enter into an NDA. It is not a crime to do a catch and kill scheme. And it is not a crime to suppress bad stories about yourself, whether you are running for president or not.
Maybe that's the point, though.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, maybe that's the point, because they're going to try to convince a jury, many of whom probably have a negative view already of Donald Trump, that there was a lot of sordid stuff going on. This was ugly. This was unseemly. Trust us. This equals a crime in the aggregate. It seems like that's kind of the case that they're making.
Oh, definitely. They're trying to equate in the jurors' minds that dirty equals illegal, but it doesn't. We ran into this a lot when I was at the Department of Justice. You know, there were people, and this was coming from the right, actually. They were frustrated with Bill Barr for not prosecuting certain fan favorites. And, you know, he would always go back to the very simple question, what is the crime? Where is the evidence? And, you know, I was constantly having to defend in the court of public opinion some of our decisions when I was at DOJ, saying that just because something is dirty, it feels bad, it doesn't look good, doesn't mean it's a crime. And we deal in evidence, we deal in crimes.
Kerri, how could they put a witness on the stand that said, I assume that the defendant knew about this alleged crime?
Right, you can't.
Because they're saying that Trump, they assumed, Pecker said, I assume Trump knew about the deal Michael Cohen was cutting.
But even if he did, again, is that a crime? It's not. If Donald Trump worked to suppress a bad story and paid for it personally and used his personal attorney to do so, I still don't see what the crime is.
See, the importance, what you're saying here is important for the defense to clearly tell the jury. You might not like that story, it never happened to you, you can't believe it's not a crime, it's not a problem. If we look at the bimbo eruptions with the Clinton era, they had a whole team to handle women that came up, made accusations, but they weren't paying off, they were threatening them not to come out.
Kerri, oh, sorry, do you want to respond to that?
Oh, no, go ahead.
So we were also talking about the Supreme Court. Big day yesterday, and Politico had a story and said that Trump's Supreme Court lawyers had a good day. Do you agree?
I think both sides got tough questions, and I think it's because both sides had pretty extreme positions. Donald Trump says absolute immunity. The Department of Justice says zero immunity. And so it seemed that the Supreme Court is probably going to land somewhere in the middle, like some kind of qualified immunity, distinguishing between official acts and personal acts.
And do you think this whole thing with Alvin Bragg in New York plays a role in the need for immunity? Because now these state prosecutors want to be famous, like what's happening in Arizona, and they try to get famous. They try to nullify candidates. and it seemed we could have 50 different agendas attacking every candidate or every current president?
Well, the immunity issue before the Supreme Court would just touch the federal cases and federal charges. But to your point, Brian, what was a remarkable statement made by the Department of Justice lawyer yesterday was that, well, prosecutors don't prosecute for political reasons. And I thought, how can you possibly say that with a straight face with what we're watching, not only in New York, but the person who made that argument had been part of Bob Mueller's team, which was one of the most politically driven investigations in American history. And I thought, I can't believe you're expecting us to sit here and believe that. And he said, yeah, we take oaths about that kind of stuff.
Do you realize when everyone talks about Donald Trump, the chaos with Donald Trump, the chaotic thing was really stemming from the Russia investigation that never stopped. Every time there was an infrastructure day, there was a Russian eruption, all of which ended up being totally fictitious. And no one ever apologized or acknowledged they got it wrong.
And let's not forget what they did. The Bob Mueller team, what they would do is they would selectively leak bad information to the press. Then Donald Trump would react angrily. Not surprisingly, because he was being accused of something he hadn't done. He would react poorly. Then they would use his reaction as further evidence that he was colluding or obstructing.
Yep.
It is unbelievable.
It's a flashback you just gave us all.
Kerri, you're going to be back in the court today?
I am.
All right, we'll be following it.
Okay. Make sure Todd pays attention.
Right. It takes
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.